Okay, in this video we are going to add and subtract some decimals. So you got to remember when you're doing these and you write them vertically with one number above the other one, you need to line up the decimals. You need to put one right above the other one or else you're going to get in trouble. Okay, 15.28 or 15 and 28 hundredths plus 6.3 or 6 and 3 tenths. So let's write that one out here. So we're going to go like this, 15.28. And remember, we have to line up the decimals. We don't want to start writing the 6 under the 1 because then the decimals won't line up. So I'm going to put the 6 here, the decimal point, and the 3. And we're going to add them up. Now, there's an 8 above a nothing. That's kind of weird. So what we can always do to make it look a little better is put a 0 in. You can always add zeros at the end of a decimal, as many as you need to line everything up so it looks a little nicer like we did here. Okay? 8 plus 0 is 8. 2 plus 3, we just add like we normally do. 2 plus 3 is 5. The decimal drops straight down into our answer. 5 plus 6 is 11. We get a 1 here and 1 up here because got to carry the 1 up, and 1 plus 1 is 2. So we get 21.58. Okay, line up the decimals, add any zeros if you need to make it work. Okay, here you'll see it'll be important to add some zeros for subtracting. Okay, so 19.47 minus 2.891. All right, let me slide that up a little bit here. Okay, 19.47 minus 2. Remember, line up the decimal. Start the 2 under the 9. 891. Whoa, there is nothing above the 1. How am I going to deal with that? Well, I'm going to need to add a 0. Okay, that way our numbers have the same number of decimal places. There's both 3 numbers after the decimal in each one. Okay, so now we got to do our whole regrouping for subtracting because I can't take 1 away from 0. So I'm going to make this 7 a 6, and this 0 now becomes a 10. 10 take away 1 is 9. All right, I can't take 9 away from 6, so I get to do my regrouping again. So this becomes a 3. Now that's a 16. 16 take away 9 is 7. I get to do it again because I can't take 8 away from 3. So this 9 needs to become an 8. That's now a 13. 13 take away 8 is 5. Decimal place. Remember, just drop it straight down and keep going. 8 take away 2 is 6. And then I got a 1 here, nothing. Under it is just a 1. So 16.579. All right, remember, line up the decimals. Add some zeros if you need to make it work out. Okay, here we go. Now we got to deal with positive and negative numbers. Well, look at this. We got one of each. We got one negative and one positive. So if you remember when we do those, if the signs aren't the same, we end up subtracting, and then our answer is going to have the sign of the bigger one, right? The bigger number. So we've got negative 10.82. We've got more negatives here than we do positives, so we're going to have a negative answer. So let's figure it out here. We're going to work over here. We're going to do some subtracting. So 10.82 take away 7.2. I'm going to add a 0 to make it all work out. 2 take away 0 is 2. 8 take away 2 is 6. And let's see, I'll make that a 0 and a 10. 10 take away 7 is 3. So 3.62 is what I get when I subtract. But again, is my answer positive 3.62 or negative? And looking back here, the bigger number is negative. That means my answer is negative 3.62. Okay, the bigger number, its sign determines the sign of your answer. Okay, same as before. Oh boy, now we've got subtracting, we got negatives, this is crazy stuff. So what are we going to do here? Well, let's think back a minute. Remember, subtracting means adding the opposite. Okay, I'm going to write that up here. Add the opposite. So remember, when we do that, we go add opposite like that. Okay, pardon me for a second here so I can focus it. It looks a little blurry to me. All right, add the opposite. Oh, now this isn't so bad. Look, I've got two negative numbers to add together. That's cool because when the signs are the same, you just add them up and keep the sign. So that's no big deal here. So I'm going to add them, but I'm not going to put the negatives over here as I add them together. So 3.3 plus 5.7, Well, 3 plus 7, that's a 10, a 0. Carry the decimal down, put the 1 up there. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 5 is 9. 9.0. Remember 9.0, that's just 9. Okay? So let's go back here. Remember, a negative and a negative, when we add them up, we get a negative. So our answer is going to be negative 9. You could write 9.0, but you don't have to because it's the same thing. Okay, so really watch your signs here. We've got to deal with the decimals and adding them up, line them up, doing all that right, and then you got to make sure you get the signs right. And you need to figure out if you subtract like you do here because you have different signs in the problem, or you got to figure out if you add them together like we did here because we have the same sign in the problem. So you got to really think about it and be careful. Okay, now let's look at a few more. I think here we got this one. Oops, 8.9 minus negative 4.32. Well, again, add the opposite. Plus, plus. Oh, that's not so bad. Now it's going to be 8.9 plus positive 4.32. And we just add them up like we normally would. 8.9, 4.32. And we'll add the 0 here, so we have the same number of decimal places in each one. Add them up. 2, 12, 1 up here. Don't forget the decimal. 1 plus 8 is 9, plus 4 is 13. So 13.22, or 13 and 22 hundredths. And again, we're adding two positives together, so our answer is positive. All right, save the hardest one for last. Okay, look at that, 3 numbers. So what I suggest here is, again, doing the adding the opposite anytime you see a subtraction. Add opposite, add opposite. Okay, so now I've got a positive plus 2 negatives. That's kind of wacky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do these guys first. Okay, remember they're both negative, so I need to add them up and keep the sign. So let's add those up here. 8 plus 11. Remember the decimal was after the 8. Any whole number, the decimal's at the end of it. 0.3. I'll put the 0 there. Probably would have been nicer if I put the bigger number on top, but it doesn't matter. Okay, 0 plus 3 is 3, decimal point, and 8 and 11 make 19. Remember, a negative plus a negative, that means this is negative 19.3. So let me write out what I have here. So I have 6.2 plus, again, I added 2 negatives, which means that's a negative in my problem. Oops, excuse me, plus, I'm going to put parentheses around it, negative 19.3, like that. Okay, this was just my work over here on the side to figure out what that was going to be when I added those two together. All right, now what? Let me draw a squiggly here so I can do my scratch work over on this side. Well, now I have a positive plus a negative. Well, what's going to happen there? Well, I got 6.2 plus negative 19.3. Well, what's bigger? 6.2, the number, is 6.2 bigger than 19.3, or is 19.3 bigger than 6.2? If we're just looking at the number part. Well, 19.3 is bigger. It's negative, which means our answer is negative. Okay, remember the bigger number after the sign determines the sign of the answer. And to figure that out, we have to subtract. Okay, 19.3, take away 6.2, so 3, line up your decimals, don't forget. 3 take away 2 is 1, decimal place in the answer, 9 take away 6 is 3, and I got a 1 in front. So 19.3 take away 6.2 is 13.1. Because the 19.3 is negative, that means my answer is negative 13.1. Okay, so I know these are going to get a little tricky. Just be careful. The answers will be with your the worksheets I'm giving you. Please show your work and then check them when you're done. And hopefully if you make a mistake, you can see where you made the mistake. And if, again, you have any troubles at all, please, please, please do not hesitate to send me an email. So looking at these, I hope that's okay. I like to pick, you know, if you have two of the same sign, I like to do those first and then add that to the third number with the different sign. Or if they all have the same sign, that's easy. All 3 numbers, you just add them up and keep the sign. But when you have different signs, deal with the numbers that are both negative or both positive first, and then add that to the third one. All right, well, that's it for this video. And again, please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.